Welcome to another episode of Raw Politics. After doing the video on why President Ruto included Uhuru's men into his cabinet, a friend asked, why don't we also explain the main reason why President Ruto included Raila Odinga's men into his cabinet? And that is what exactly I'm going to do in this particular video. So if that is a subject you are interested in, I urge you to stay tuned. And if you're watching for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss similar thought-provoking videos. Ladies and gentlemen, both the circumstances and the reason as to why Uhuru's men were brought into Ruto's cabinet are so different from the reason and the circumstances under which Raila's team joined Ruto's government. You remember, Raila's team came in immediately after the so-called Gen Z's uprising in June. I use the word so-called deliberately because I have always insisted this was a political attempt to remove William Ruto from power using the young, naive people. And it failed once the sponsors were exposed and they could no longer ferry their people to town, to the CBD, to cause chaos. You can agree or disagree, but the evidence is there. The problem with the country is that people do not like the truth. If you speak the truth, you are either tribalist or an enemy of progress. We have developed what we call a herd mentality, where you are supposed to agree with what is being said as long as it is being said by the majority. But it is not always that the majority is right, ladies and gentlemen. These people had already decided to remove Ruto from power using anarchy. Thank God it failed. Now, it is during that time that President Ruto reached out to Raila Odinga and his men and formed the broad-based government. I told you that the circumstances were different. You see, at that particular time, the people that Ruto trusted to help him wield power, to help him govern, had decided, especially his number two, okay, the principal assistant, the person who was supposed to be the principal assistant, had already decided that they were going to do everything possible to sabotage the president from within. So the president had to look for people outside his own grouping to help stabilize the government. So why did he bring Raila's men into his cabinet? In my opinion, Raila's men were brought into Ruto's cabinet for three reasons. One, just I've said, to stabilize government. The people that Ruto expected to stand with him had started to sabotage him from within and were the ones who were shamelessly behind the use of young people to cause anarchy with the hope of overthrowing him from power. So he had to stabilize government, and bringing help from outside, we would call it reinforcement, helped stabilize the government. And by stabilize the government, I don't mean that that particular government of Ruto was going to fail if Raila's people did not join it. No. What I'm suggesting here is you want to govern. You want to move your agenda forward. You can't do that with saboteurs, people who are pretending to be your friends, but trying everything possible to destroy you. So that is what I mean by stabilizing. You are bringing reasonable people who will be focused, which takes us to the second reason why I believe Ruto brought Raila's men into his cabinet. The second reason, ladies and gentlemen, if you asked me, was to help promote government policies in the opposition turfs. You see, the 2022 election was a closely fought one. The people who supported Raila versus the people who supported Ruto, the difference was a mere 200,000 votes. That is to say, it was almost a 50-50 election. And as you know, President Ruto had policies that he wanted to implement. And you cannot implement the policies to one region, to a half of the country, while ignoring the others. I told you that when President Ruto announced the affordable fertilizer, majority of people from the opposition turf rejected that fertilizer. Not because they didn't want to get cheap fertilizer. They did it because it was coming from William Ruto, and they didn't trust William Ruto. So some of them were even given propaganda that that particular fertilizer was to destroy your soil and make sure that you cannot produce food anymore, you will starve to death. And you know, several propaganda. Every government policy was being opposed in Raila's staff. And so this particular move was to help the government reach out to the opposition with their policies. Imagine when Pio Wandai is explaining to the people of Luo Nyanza the plans in the energy sector versus if it is being done by Chirchir Davis. Okay? So the people of Luo Nyanza would trust to hear this from Opiyo Wandayi than they would from Chirchir. And that is what the president did. He brought in people like Mbadi, Joho, Wandayi, Oparanya to explain government policies to the masses that were otherwise in opposition to these particular policies. By bringing into his government people like Joho, Opiyo Wandayi, Mbadi, and Oparanya, just to mention a few, what Ruto did was to now have a team that can explain government policies to the opposition. Otherwise, these people were still going to be very resistant to everything the government is doing. It's the same case we are currently seeing in Mount Kenya. Every policy of the government is being opposed on the basis of politics. And that is what was happening before in places that Raila controlled. They were opposing government policies not on the basis that these policies were bad or they were wrong or they were anti the people, but because they did not like whoever was running the policies. They didn't like Ruto. You are seeing that live in Mount Kenya. People who were even paying for the affordable houses now have turned against every policy of the government on the basis of politics, nothing else. And so the president bringing in the likes of Wandayi to explain the programs at the under energy sector, the likes of Oparanya to explain the financial inclusion funds like Hustler Fund, and Mbadi to explain to the people what the finance bill is and other measures that are being taken to revive the economy. The people in the opposition understand this better than if they were being told about energy by Chirchir, or they were being told about the financial inclusion fund by somebody like Chelagui, or they were being educated about the importance of the finance bill by somebody like Professor Ndungu. The politicians that the president has brought in are helping him to share the agenda. So number 2 is to share the government agenda with the people. Make it easy for the people in the opposition to also understand and embrace government policies. But the third and most important one, in my view, was as a plan B. Should Mount Kenya go, Ruto needs Luo Nyanza. I have told you here, and I will keep on repeating, that for you to win elections in this country, you will need the support of 2 of these 3 communities, Luos, Kalenjins, and Kikuyus. You will need the support of 2. 2 must come together to help you win elections. Ruto got into power through the support of Kalenjin and Kikuyu. But now that Kikuyus have decided to be on the other side, in the opposition, Ruto needs Luos to compensate for that. And I have told you in terms of figures, whatever you have in the former Central Province is what you have in former Nyanza province. Former Nyanza province has 3.1 million votes. Former Central province, I'm not talking of the entire Murima, former Central province also has 3.1 million votes. So if you were to lose former Central province and gain Nyanza, then in a sense, you've not lost anything. So ladies and gentlemen, those are the 3 reasons why Ruto brought in Raila's men into his government. Just as a recap, they were brought in for 3 reasons, in my opinion. 1, stabilize government. Have people to replace the betrayers. The people he trusted, like Rigathi, were working from morning to evening to overthrow him. So he needed other people. And that is why he had to go for Raila's men, because they would come in and they would have to prove themselves. And so far, so good. They are really doing a wonderful work. The government is stable. Number 2, just in case you've forgotten, was to ensure they propagate government policies to the opposition area. Now people are absorbing the, now even in the opposition areas, people are accepting the affordable fertilizer. They believe the housing program is okay. They understand how the energy sector work, the mining and etc. And so even the finance bill. And so that was a very nice move, and it is bearing fruit. The third one is as a backup for 2027. The president, like I've told you, has a lot to achieve, and this manifesto was spread to be delivered in 10 years. And so far, he's doing wonderfully, in my opinion. He will need a second term to fully deliver on his manifesto. I have given you the 3 reasons. But on the number 3, there are people with questions. There are people who are saying that, there are people who are arguing that number 3 is dependent on AUC. They're saying that Luos supporting Ruto come 2027 is purely dependent on the outcome of the AUC elections. There are people who believe that if Raila was to lose, he would come back, he would cut links with Ruto and vie or support Kalonzo Musyoka. In fact, the people of Mulima are opposing Raila with that hope that should he lose, he will come back and he would vie and help them punish William Ruto. You know, I've told you how they believe that is possible. That they oppose Raila now with the aim that he loses and he comes back, and they use him as a Trojan horse against Ruto to punish William Ruto. Okay, fine. I cannot rule their plan out, but what I want to tell you is that the relationship between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, in my opinion, is not dependent on AUC. And this is something people don't want to believe. You see, Raila Odinga knows that William Ruto is not the only voter at AUC. AUC is a race. He can either win or he can lose. And so far, Raila Odinga knows Ruto has done everything possible to make him not just a contender, but the front runner. Raila is so ahead at the continental stage that the only place the Djibouti guy has some semblance of influence is on Kenya's social media space. But let's say Raila Odinga was to lose. In the unlikely event Raila Odinga was to lose AUC, I still believe that their cooperation with William Ruto will continue. I don't see Raila coming back and saying that now because I lost AUC, I want to vie as a presidential candidate. The reason as to why I think so, he's wise enough. Remember in 2002, Raila did not vie, not because he couldn't be a candidate. He could be a candidate. Actually, he was popular than he was in 1997. But he did not vie for one good reason. Raila looked at the optics. Did he have a chance to beat Kibaki? No. He was not going to beat Kibaki in an election. 2, if he was not going to beat Kibaki, did he have a chance to beat Uhuru? No. So that meant he was going to be number 3. And there was no need for him to vie to be number 3 when he could just join Kibaki and they form a bigger force and defeat Uhuru Kenyatta. And that is what they did. In this case, Raila's option is simple. Support Rigathi and his Kalonzo to defeat Ruto, or support Ruto to defeat Murima. And from the look of things, majority of the Luos you talk to are for the opinion that when they wanted Murima to support them in 2022, Murima said they would rather vote for a dog. So now that Murima needs their help, they are also of the opinion that should that opportunity provide itself, majority of Luos will vote for Ruto just to punish the Mulima people. And that is what I believe is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. You never know, though. 3 years is a long time in politics. But that is what I believe. As far as I'm concerned, Raila and Ruto are likely to work up to 2027 or even further. Because from the look of things, if their deal goes through, if this partnership is retained, and Ruto wins re-election, then chances of president coming from Luo Nyanza or Western in 2032 is higher. If you found this video useful, let me know in the comment section. If you have a different view on this particular subject, also share. in the comment section. If there is a topic you want us to create a video on, let me know. Otherwise, allow me to thank you for taking your time to watch this particular video. Enjoy your holidays. In case you missed the video on why President Ruto brought Uhuru Kenyatta's men into his cabinet, watch this video.